Hey, everybody, the world's a better place because you were here to join us. My name is Matt Brown, and I am the host of the Productive Conversations podcast. And it is a beautiful early April day here at Productive Conversations. So, we're about to kick off a new season, about to kick off the spring. We got tweet caps this week on Tuesday and Friday. And then we have this special Severance edition of the Productive Conversations podcast to check in. Me and Ryan are here, getting ready for a new season straight off of California. It's California
Yeah,
trip.
yeah.
Hello, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm
It was
doing
nice and
well.
sunny. Honestly, it's sunny here though. I got very lucky that my first day back is hot down here in DC. So
So yeah, you were out of Los Angeles and San Francisco, right? Or
no,
just
so
Los Angeles?
we were in Los Angeles and then we went out to the desert to Palm
Oh,
Springs area.
okay.
So
Like
a couple
Coachella
hours
around
away.
there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly near Coachella actually. So it was cool. That was also quite an enjoyable location. That was far less what's it? Not stressful, but like less going on, obviously quieter, more
Hmm.
relaxing. I could see why the rich and the famous find their way out there when they want to try and hide from their fans a little bit. It's quiet, nice weather, all that stuff.
Well, makes a ton of sense. Glad you're back here and safe, and also happy birthday to you. Ryan celebrated a milestone birthday last week, and as we well, it was supposed to be a week off, but did two shows anyways. But a week off tweet cap,
Yeah.
but that's
Just a week
okay
off
though.
from me, essentially. What it became is I took a week off, and but yeah, no, 30, 30 is come and gone now.
Well, glad you're here for it. So let's kick it off and talk about something that has taken over Hollywood, that's taken over the streamer. And we're going to talk all things Severance on this podcast as the
Mm.
second season came to an end just a couple weeks ago, but the hype is still there. So might as well talk about it.
Oh yeah.
And before we do any of that, just want to remind you to like and subscribe to the Productive Conversations podcast on all podcasting platforms and YouTube. And don't forget to check out exclusive content regarding the show across all social media platforms. We're on Instagram at Productive Conversations Podcast, X and Twitter at Pod Couple Pod, or on TikTok at Productive Conversations, and Facebook at Productive Conversations. So Ryan, Severance. Severance has come and gone. The
Hmm.
season two was a banger, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And as you and I are about to partake in a discussion on Severance, just our thoughts on how we feel about this at this point, just so you people know, spoilers from here on out. So
Yeah, we're
unless
not
you
gonna.
want it spoiled,
Right.
uh, no offense. We will take no offense if you are leaving and come back when you have seen it, because that's what's great about this show. It's evergreen. A season three has been approved, and we'll wait till whenever that happens. But focusing on season two now,
Hmm.
just tell me your initial thoughts on how Severance ended. So at this point in the show, it seems what would you say? A revolution against Lumen is about to
I
partake.
don't know.
We have
It's
a big
hard.
moment here. Well, that's part of
Yeah.
the thing. So,
Yeah.
but regardless, we know that last scene. We
Hmm.
have Marcus, the innie of Mark, scout, and he finds Gemma. He is about to escape with her once and for all. But then we have Helios, and it was confirmed by the
LER.
Heliar, excuse me.
Yeah.
It wanted to be Helios from that love story, I guess. But
Yeah. Maybe someday.
we have Heliar, and it was confirmed by the creators and the writers that it was her, not Helena.
Hmm.
And he had to choose Marquez. Do I go and fulfill my Audi's request, or do I say fuck it and find the one person that makes me happy as an innie? And he chose her, and they ran off together in what I think will be a well-known shot for a long time in the zeitgeist. And that's
Mm.
where we're at. That's where Severance has ended. Dylan took on Mr. Milchek. That's where we have there. So we don't know how that's going to unfold. We just know they're in the MCR with the bed, and Mr. Milchek at least has the door open, and we don't know what's going to happen there. We have Irving, played by John Turturro, who was sent somewhere far away from
Mm.
Bert, because Bert was, well, straight up assigned to kill him, but instead he just made him run away.
Right, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's where we're at right now. And what else am I missing?
Well, Gemma got out.
Yes, Gemma is
Uh,
out there.
so Gemma slash Miss Casey slash like that
Hmm.
character is on the outside now. Um, so they do still have a person who was on the severed floor on the outside besides Irv. Um, which means I think the fight against Lumen will probably continue with Gemma. Um, and oh well, they finished Cold Harbor.
That's right.
We
They
don't
hit
know what that
100%.
means yet,
Right.
but they did all of the macro data refining they needed to finish Cold Harbor. So it's unclear exactly what the plan was once that was finished. They were in the middle of quote unquote testing it. Who knows if they got enough information to test it or what the deal is there, but whatever the Egans were planning, it might be completely done. Might not have worked. It might have worked anyway. Might have partially worked and they need something else. Hard to tell, but yeah.
That's where we're at right now. And we also have Miss Coble, who assisted in trying to get
Hmm.
this. Yeah, I guess they're gonna wait. She's outside somewhere in the, what do you call, the pregnancy village? I guess I
Yeah.
didn't even know that was a thing. I guess that's a thing in this for those who choose that. And yeah, that's where we're at right now. And he said it won't take 3 years, Ben Stiller, that is, to for the season three to happen. I assume we'll see it next year, probably February 2026 in my prediction.
That'd
Makes
be my
sense.
guess. Yeah. I agree.
And yeah, that's where we're at now, Ryan. So after having all that unfold, tell me what you're feeling. Tell me, are you just gonna wait to see? I mean, this is your place for some predictions, or
Hmm.
are you're feeling like, well, I don't know. There's just so much on my mind regarding this. Just tell me what you're thinking.
Yeah. So I don't know about you, but I've actually seen the last episode specifically twice. I
Hmm.
finished it by myself once just because I thought we wanted to have it done for when we did the show, and then because of the scheduling, I was able to actually watch it with my wife because we watched the show together. And so I originally did not like the ending of this season. I
Hmm.
texted you about it right
Hmm.
when I finished it. I mean, the minute reaction, gut reaction was I didn't like the ending. I was like, but I think rewatching it, rewatching that entire episode, one, it kind of really pointed out to me that whether or not I liked it, it is the ending that made the most sense, just about. Like
Yeah.
that ending made more sense than the ending that myself and frankly, if you look online, a lot of people online wanted. But also a lot it kind of just to that point, a lot of the people like myself who initially hated that ending did so for their own personal reasons. Like we wanted Lumen to lose. We wanted Mark and Gemma to make it out.
Yeah.
I honestly I don't even know if it's because it's the better love story. I mean, they did a very good job of showing us that Mark and Gemma, had a very good love story. And
The
I think that
moment they
that's
reunited was very wholesome and sweet.
right. So it could be some of that, but it could also just be that Lumen has been such a great bad guy
Hmm.
that we that we wanted to see them lose, like 100% lose. And had Mark and Gemma gotten out, they would have lost. Obviously, that's not what happened.
Yeah, you could argue the show can end there in a
Had they
way.
gotten out, yeah.
Yeah, so you gotta have some
Uh,
some leeway.
yeah. So I think rewatching it, I was much more much more for not forgiving because it was a good ending. I was much more interested in the ending after a second watch. Um, but I am interested in the ending. It's because it's definitely like symbolically strange, obviously in terms of the way it was shot. Um, One, yeah, I do think it'll probably be something that people can reference for a little bit. It's got some iconicness to it. Also, apparently, someone I was talking to said that it's actually itself an homage to an ending of some sci-fi show called Logan's Run.
Really.
Um, yeah, I've not seen that movie, so I don't know, but that's what they said. They're a little bit older. They've seen Logan's Run. But so anyway,
Logan's Run, a 1976 film I could see right here.
yeah, and so
The
Anyway, that is something, but also it does, symbolically, because they're not running anywhere. They only exist on like
yeah,
one
right.
floor of a building. Like they can't exist. I mean, that's not true. There are other places, as we've seen, like the birthing retreat, and there's the OTC. They can just turn themselves on and off whenever they want. So like there are ways for Mark S and Helly R and everybody else to do, to be on the outside world. We've seen multiple times it happen now, but realistically, the majority of their time they are stuck on one floor of a building. And so where are they running to is unclear.
Hmm.
And I is obviously meant to be unclear, just as what are Dylan and Milchick doing? Unclear. Um, and I think that all, while it's frustrating because you want to know, as a fan, you want to just know what's next. Um, it does provide the writers with plenty of opportunity to carry forward whatever is next. I will say, and you could jump in right after I ask this. Do you think like they have the plan? That's not, that's the wrong way to say that. Of course they have a plan. Um, have they set up Lumen's next act in your mind? Like, do we really have many clues at all as to what Lumen might do next after this Cold Harbor thing? Again, we don't even know if Cold Harbor worked because they broke
Yeah,
her
see,
out. So it may not have worked, but it may have worked. They finished the profile, right? So that's kind of where I'm just curious what you think. Did they set up Lumen's next chapter in any meaningful way?
so from the clues I know, and in an interview, whether it was a throwaway comment or not, Ben Stiller, again, the director of this show, he said that, yeah, I know what's going to happen. I know where this all is going. Him
Hmm.
personally, I don't know if the writers do, but him personally, with the
Right.
creator Dan Erickson, knows where this is going. So, in that sense, yeah, I do think so. And he claims that everything, every little detail is intentional. There's no coincidences. Like an example, the Cold Harbor you could see in the episode that gave the relationship between Gemma and Mark, that you could see the words Cold Harbor on the crib.
Mm.
I don't know if you noticed that or not,
I
but you
did
could
not
literally
notice
see
that.
that. Yeah, yeah, you see it.
Wow, okay.
If you do
That's
zoom
that's
in,
where
it
the
says
name
that
comes
there.
from. That's where the name comes from then.
Yeah, and then you see her creating a crib, and I guess if she
Oh
completed
yeah, it
the
was that
crib,
crib. Yeah.
that was the completion of that
Yeah,
was the
well,
completion of Carl Harbor. So just
I think
having
we
said that,
should,
just to add to,
yeah.
I think there has to be something, and if you want to go through the 19 episodes to get more clues, maybe you find something there.
Yeah, I'll say I do think, and obviously none of this has actually been confirmed, but it's kind of been confirmed. But I think we should explain what they were doing because I know for the
Mhm.
longest time I had no idea what macro data refinement even was. Um, and whatever. And I mean, there's still a lot of question marks, but it seems at least this Cold Harbor account, right, that
Yeah,
Mark has was severing his wife Gemma, her mind, into different buckets based on the tempers that
yeah,
Kier had established, right? Like frolic, wrath, and whatever. And so every room that they were testing was a different room and or a different one of tempers based on a different thing that actually happened to Gemma. Obviously, the Cold Harbor one being her losing her, the miscarriage and having the crib and all that. Um, and it's clear, I think, from the test of Cold Harbor, what we saw, they were trying to see if they can turn off negative emotions and
yeah.
memories. It's clear that, and obviously that's the product. They're trying to develop a way for you to say, I don't want to deal with I don't want to be mad at my, spouse anymore.
Right. I don't want to grieve.
I don't want to
I
grieve
don't
when
want to
my loved one
stress.
dies. Right. And so they're saying, cool, you don't want to grieve when your loved one dies. Well, we can make a product where you can sever yourself, and it didn't happen to you then. happen to someone else. And,
Hmm.
it's you, but it severs your brain multiple times. It's not just an innie and an outie. Now you could put basically all of your emotions into a different pocket to experience the stuff you don't want to experience. And then you just keep moving forward with only the stuff that you want to experience. So it's the end of pain is their idea. End of mental anguish and pain,
Yeah, so
is what
that's
they're
what we ultimately predict Lumen's that
that's what they were
a
doing.
Lumen's company, a negative mental. What's the word term?
I mean, it's a
Positive,
wellness
negative.
company, actually, technically,
Yeah,
that's what they
a
are.
wellness company to take away negative feelings
Pain, yeah,
to you.
trying to eliminate mental pain and anguish from people.
Yes,
Um,
Lumen, the pain remover, the painkiller,
right,
the mental
the
painkiller
painkiller,
company.
yes. And so the question is, do they have enough that they'll just go forward with it anyway? Are they going to start again? It did kind of sound like they may have done this before, if I'm not mistaken. It sounds like this is not the first person they've done the testing on, and obviously there are other members of macro data refinement. It's unclear if those members were doing anything themselves or if those members were there to make it so Mark S felt like there was a purpose to his mysterious and important work. I haven't figured that out yet, but it does sound like there are other times that this has happened with the testing people.
Hmm.
So, because they've sacrificed many goats before and whatnot, as they alluded to in the goat sacrificing chamber. So that's kind of curious, but yeah, I don't know. I find it hard to predict or even just really imagine what Lumen does next, unless they just say, screw it and go forward with severing everybody into a million pieces. And then I guess it'll be Gemma who has to try and stop. It's also hard because it wasn't like Miss Casey who got abandoned, right? It was Gemma. She saw her husband run off with another person. And so it becomes very difficult to imagine, is she going to try and save him?
Yeah, and
Does
also
he
to
need
confirm,
saving?
I believe the actor who plays Gemma confirmed that she's aware this is a severed mark.
Yeah.
So at least that's a little less stressful as the viewer because you feel really sad. But now you got to. But as you said, just to reiterate your point, what does she do now? How does she now her be the hero to get her husband back? And it seems season three will set up how do we get Mark back, or do we reintegrate and both versions of Mark live, as well
Well,
as the
yeah. Well,
other
then,
other severed people.
right. And so that becomes the question, though, is when you talk about the Mark getting Mark back, I think it was fairly clear that Gemma was in distress down there.
Hmm.
Her Miss Casey persona, while not inherently in distress, was very robotic, right?
Yeah.
And so I think you run into the issue of, what if Mark doesn't need saving? We're all assuming that because of what happened, Mark will need saving, right? I think that that's a fair thought to have. Um, what if he doesn't? What if nothing bad happens because of what they did? And that leads me to Helly R, who seems to be more popular with her dad, James, than Helena Egan, his actual daughter. His
Hmm.
daughter's Innie seems to be the preferred successor to the Egan name for her, her Audi's father, James. The question then is, how would he convince her to do that? And maybe the price is Mark. You run the company, you take over as, my as the next CEO of Vegan, and I'll turn you and Mark S on. You guys will be the new Innie and Audi. You
Oh,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Or
and
whatever,
then
something to that effect. Like, because it's split in half. So we've seen that the halves can be in multiple, you know what I mean? We've seen that. And now we've never seen an Audi on the severed floor, but we've seen innies elsewhere. So if he says, I can turn the innies on for you and for Mark, you live to happily ever after together on the outside, all you have to do is run the company.
hmm,
Just saying, could
I think
happen.
I definitely want to reiterate on that point because there is a thought I have to that. But also, when at least this reminds me of a time where they're very stressed out, and if there was a way that they can just take their stress away, and if there was just a way that they could, you know, get some more mental clarity. Well, one thing I can suggest at least, and if it exists in the Lumen world, is if they could somehow, some way get Magic Mind in this, I believe it's called Kier, is the actual place where
Here
this
is the
takes
name of the
place.
place. Yeah.
Yeah, because at least we've seen here in the real world with our personal Audis that Magic Mind has been a great thing for us to help ease our stress, to help put things in perspective, and also to help us just stay calm and focus better on our everyday tasks. And that's thanks to the signature vitamins and nootropics that the great Magic Mind has with its products and everything else that can be added to it, whether we use our daily Magic Mind products to help enhance our focus, to help give us some mental clarity, or even the sleep products, where if
Hmm.
we are very tired, where if we need to go to sleep and finally get that good night's sleep, just an extra shot of Magic Mind. The evening version of Magic Mind is something that's been
Yeah.
very
Hey,
beneficial
you
to
know
me.
what? Sleep is an incredibly important part of focus.
Hmm.
It's not Magic Mind in general. It's not like an energy thing, right? It's not like take it now you're charged up. It's supposed to help your brain naturally because it's got all those vitamins and nootropics like Matt said. Naturally, just get better at producing what it needs to produce to be focused for at that mental clarity. To keep with the severance thing, obviously we don't have innies that can go through our workday for us, but with something, with a magic mind, right? It allows your regular brain, the only one that we got. We only get one brain and it's not cut in half, but it allows us to like really feel like we're getting things done because we're paying attention better. We're thinking more deeply because we're not just fatigued all the time. But yeah, sleep is a huge part of that. And I was thrilled personally. We've been working with Magic Mind since before the sleep thing. And I use the other product is great, but I personally love the sleep thing. I think a good night's sleep is incredibly important for your brain to have the energy it needs the next day to stay focused all day long and getting that natural way to fall asleep. You don't have to take anything else. You take a natural thing, it helps you fall asleep, stay asleep longer, relax yourself as you go to sleep. I really am a huge advocate for that product and obviously all of Magic Mind's products. And they're like an awesome person, like awesome people to work with. They give money to mental health causes based off their purchases. So this is not like a fitness fad sort of thing. They really do care about the well-being of people, and they understand that brain health is like is health, right? Your mental health, your brain health, all that stuff is health. And they're not set. You can't separate the two into categories like that. And so we it's awesome getting to help them do that. And the price is not bad at all either. Like you go to the store and you buy something similar, and it's the same as if you just order the subscription online per bottle. Like it's not more expensive. It's twice as convenient. Like it really is a great product for those reasons too. Like, put aside the brain stuff, just it's not going to break the bank. It's not bad for you in the way that there's like processed stuff in it. It's all natural stuff. So like that to me has always been the biggest selling point about why I still use Magic Mind. And specifically the sleep one. I think that product is just awesome. I use that every night, and I that's on subscription.
That's
That's
what I'm
gonna come
talking about.
no matter what. That's gonna come because that one I know it works. Tastes great. So yeah.
I think that's a great endorsement, Ryan. And I feel the same way. I'm just more of a daily use for the
Hmm.
uh, use, whether it's I use my gummies, whether I use the shots themselves, my green tea shots. Either way, I get my jolt of energy I need. I don't snooze anymore when I sleep. I just get up, get ready to go.
Hmm.
And I can't say enough better things about Magic Mind. Whether you use the sleep aid ones like Ryan, whether you use the daily mind focusing ones like me, we are very lucky to have Magic Mind create a brand new deal for our special community here in the Productive Nation. And let me just tell you what that special deal is. Right now, you could go to magicmind.com/PCLT. That is magicmind.com/PCLT and get 20% off a one time purchase or up to 48% off a subscription using that code. Once again, it's PCLT20. You can't beat that price. You can't argue with the results, and you are going to love the taste. For either one of the products that they offer. And I
All of them.
promise you, yes, every single one. I promise you, you will be glad with when you check them out. And be sure to go to their website or check the episode description below, whether on all podcast platforms at YouTube, and get your special deal of Magic Mind once again, one final time. That's magicmind.com/PCLT20. And begin your journey with Magic Mind, and don't forget, you will reclaim your brain. So, just to make some final thoughts, Ryan, I think I
Hmm.
will tag on with you with that will be Productive Conversations official prediction. Ryan's, as he said, that Heliar and Mark will somehow be the new focus for Lumen, and again, can you just remind me the last name? It's not the Cure family; it's the
The Egan family, yeah,
Ega
but
family
yeah,
as the new guinea pigs, if you will, to help
I
endorse these
think that might be the
products.
face. I think they might
Yeah,
be the public face, not even just guinea pigs. But they
even
could do
better.
that too. I thought about that. Could they make Helly do the tests and sever Mark more? That's my. I'll go with my. That's my alt theory. So in the comments, let me know. Are Helly and Mark gonna run Lumen now with under threat of James, or
Hmm.
is Mark going to be captured, going to be put in that testing floor where Gemma was, and Helly, who is clearly in love with Mark S at the bare minimum, is forced to do what Mark was doing to Gemma to him. And
Yeah.
now, all this other stuff ensues. I don't know. I don't know the answers to that. I think personally it'd be more fun
Hmm.
to see Helly be in charge of Lumen reluctantly as a way to keep Mark S out, because
Yeah.
again, the threat would be that if you don't do as we ask, right? So like you're the most powerful person in the world. However, if you don't listen to us, we will turn off your boyfriend. And he won't know who
Hmm.
you are and he won't like you. He's going to go back to his ex-wife or to his current wife who he recently broke out of captivity. So and Helly knows all of this. So Helly would be working under threat of losing the one thing she cares about, and I think that would be way more interesting to see the two of them grapple with being on the wrong side, but for the right reason, quote unquote.
Yeah, and
Uh,
that creates legitimate stakes
right,
for both sides, which way to
right.
go. And one of my big conflicts, and one thing I definitely want to, I haven't discussed with you yet, I have with a few
Hmm.
others, but I think it's very important for this show. Who do you cheer for? Do you cheer for Mark S or
Right.
do you cheer for Mark Scout? Who is who is the protagonist in here? Obviously, it's both, and that's what was just. It wasn't frustrating that Marcus chose that because that's the big thing that's one of the deep questions. Isn't any a person too?
Well, right, and
And,
that's the whole point.
and
And
you could it's similar
honestly,
with even though we didn't talk about it, similar with Dylan's Any and his conflict with his
right.
wife and stuff like there. That's the deeper questions. But sorry to interrupt. I definitely want you to hear you
No,
more.
no, that's okay. So we definitely saw from Dylan and from Mark. We didn't see it from Helly slash Helena, but I've already said to you, I think that those two are the test case for how they're different people.
Hmm.
And I think it's not an accident that everybody, and obviously the logic is we couldn't call her, Helen E, because they'll know it's Helena Egan. So they went with Helly R. But I don't. I
Yeah.
think it's more than that. Again, it's not no coincidences. They wanted to make it clear that Helly R and Helena Egan are as far apart characters as humanly possible. Mark S and Mark Scout have overlap. Dylan G and Dylan, I don't remember the last name. I apologize. His Audi's last
Dylan,
name
Dylan
are
the Audi.
Dylan Audi, Dylan Innie are very similar. It seems like Irv and Irv are fairly similar too. Um, and so on and so forth. But I think this last season, the last few episodes, really solidified, and it was the note from the Audi Dylan and the phone conversation with between the two marks that I think really put this into perspective. And I think you're supposed to cheer for the innies over the
Hmm.
Audis. Again, supposed to is a subjective term. You can cheer for whoever you want to. It's a
Yeah,
TV
right.
show. But when he got her name wrong, when he got Helly's name wrong, he was like, I'm glad you got to experience that. Basically, Mark saw this whole thing as I made a mistake. I created a life for, created a person that I had no business creating. And I'm sorry that I did that because I shouldn't have done it. But it's done now, and now we need to end it. We have to put an end to this. And by that, he meant save Gemma, no more Mark S. And I know he said we'll reintegrate or whatever, but again, Mark S would be reintegrated into Mark's life. He would
Yeah.
live with Gemma. They would basically the severed floor would become a memory of Mark's, not Mark S's actual life. And so, and then Dylan, same thing, was like, I kind of like knowing you're down there. Meaning, I know I'm not perfect up here, but I seem to be really good down there. And it gives me some sense of accomplishment that you're there on my behalf doing the work that up here me can't seem to do. Right? Both Audis, and then obviously Helena too, to a much larger extent, view the innie as a creation of theirs, as a tool of theirs, or whatever, and not the other way around.
Yeah.
Whereas the innies do see their Audis as people, bad people or good people or lazy people, whatever. All of them are very keenly aware that there are people on the other end of the elevator. And it doesn't seem like the Audis are nearly as keenly aware of that. They feel like children or pets or whatever. It feels
Yeah. And that's
dismissive when
that's
you hear them talk about it. My
that's
opinion.
one of the inner conflicts that's been great to talk about, and I asked, and people said I would easily severance. And just the simple question is, well, will you treat the any as a person? Will you care? And all, if you want to go deeper on that, what does that represent with society and all that, blah blah blah. But that's what's great. It shows leads to those
Yeah.
conflicts.
Well, I think it's hard. I think what's important too is like obviously a severed person doesn't have to experience a certain thing, be it an emotion or an activity, but like the activity is secondary. Like people who saw this as a way to go to work without remembering they went to work, that's not really what Severance is about. Like, yes, that's the selling point probably to
Yeah.
the employees, but the reality is, and we see it with Mark in terms of the reason he does it, is you don't have to feel for a little bit. And the problem with not feeling is that that means you're not living. And that's another reason why I think, the innies, they experience a range of feelings. Yes, they're at work, but they can't turn off when they fall in love. They can't turn off when they lose a friend. They can't do that. The Audis can. The Audis can go downstairs and forget, at least for a time, all about that. And yes, I understand that uh, you know, the severed innies can do the same thing, but it's they don't control that.
Yeah.
They show up when the Audi makes them show up. That so they had it's not like they could say I don't want to think about, how my friend Irv got canned from work the other day. So I'm going to go up top. I'm going to stay home and not think about it. Your Audi doesn't know that. But theoretically, if you're an Audi whose friend got fired and you wanted to spend a day with them to make them feel better, you could. Or if you're like, I don't want to think about, your wife gets fired. I don't want to think about this right now. I'm going to work. You can turn it off. And so it's the Audis are actually functioning less human like humans than the innies are in a lot of cases because the innies don't get to choose what they feel.
Nope.
They're just when they're awake, they're feeling everything. When they're asleep, they're asleep.
Yeah.
And for the Audis, when they're awake, they can always choose to stop feeling. by going into work or getting, doing the severed stuff. Um, which is again more reason why I think that the Audis are not necessarily the main characters, despite being the original, you know, base model, if you will, for our main characters, which are the innies. I don't know. That's just kind of where my thought is that the feelings of it all, like the way you can turn off your feelings, that makes you less human. Because I think those experiences are human experiences,
Yep.
love, loss, all that stuff. Turning those off does, I mean, not in a mean way, I'm not saying subhuman or anything like that, but it's removing the human experience from humanity and handing it to these innies.
Yeah.
These innies are taking the thing that makes humans the most human. And so it becomes, yeah, who's the real human then? If the thing that differentiates us from so many other mammals is being, shopped off to an inner version of you that only comes out when you want them to, it feels a lot like they're just doing the hard stuff for you. That, you've got a pet or something,
Yeah,
and
right.
they're the people, not you.
Very good perspective. I'm excited to see how these questions are answered. Just two very quick things before we go. Just on the acting
Hmm.
side, number one, Adam Scott's performance really established himself. I think he's created
Hmm.
one of the more memorable characters from Prestige TV, from the Bryan Cranston to Walter White and James Gandolfini to Tony Soprano. I think Adam Scott's breakthrough role. I mean, he's had a great career and a long career, but
Oh yeah,
the
yeah,
defining role is this. And
yeah.
what sold him, and I tweeted this, and never been more confident as someone doing an Emmy Award winning performance, was that one scene where his Indian Audi is talking with a
Hmm.
camera, and you could clearly tell who either person is, and he's
Hmm.
just doing it himself. That was a huge highlight. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean he was great. I think there's probably one more actor we'll talk about who's even better. But I thought he was great and I to compare him to Cranston and Gandolfini, my worry, it's not even a worry, but just the thing that I would look out for is how long will this show be? Both of those shows were in an era where even Prestige TV was many seasons. In the new streaming era, for whatever reason, as weird as it is, a lot of time the prestigious shows are only 4, 5 seasons long.
Hmm.
Whereas, Breaking Bad and The Sopranos, I think they both at least doubled that, right?
Yeah, 5 seasons for Sopranos, seven for sorry, 5 for Breaking Bad, 7 for Sopranos, and the
Okay, so
last two
actually
seasons
Breaking
were
Bad was
break.
5. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I guess Breaking Bad is actually very similar then. I think they can get to 5. But if they stop at 3, and they very well might, if this is upcoming one ends up being the last one, then I could see a world where it's just not enough time to really put them into that like Sopranos or The Wire or any of those shows. But I mean, like you said, Breaking Bad has done it in 5. And
Yeah,
I so
time
I
will
mean
tell we're there.
yeah.
Time will
But
tell
I
there.
could see it. I can see for sure where the comparison is. And I think it's well deserved regardless of how long the show goes on for. That would just be my one like caveat. But yeah, that one scene in particular, it was easy to tell their motivations. It was easy to tell who was like I said, who was the good guy and the bad guy, who was right and who was
Yeah.
wrong, while also having sympathy for both sides. Like you could obviously understand, or I know I could obviously understand wanting to get, your wife back and not caring in any meaningful way what
Right.
that did to other people. I get that. I'm with him on that technically. But also like he was asking what he was asking, expecting, frankly. He wasn't asking, he was expecting.
Yeah.
Um I think that it was clear, like, he was playing himself, but he was playing them differently, and he was playing himself as both the victim and the oppressor and the hero and the, he had to play so many different versions of himself in that one, prolonged scene of them negotiating essentially with each other. And so I think that that was very impressive.
Definitely. And of course, maybe even the breakout character of this show, Tremel
Hmm.
Tillman as Seth Milchick, aka Mr. Milkshake. Boy, what a fun character to watch. And I like the idea of figuring out, like, of course he's technically on the bad side, but it's funny. You get mad at Mr. Milchick when he yells at the Severance team, but when Lumen is yelling at him, it switches. And I like that. And I like that conflict. And I like obviously the dancing with the marching band. You can watch that
Hmm.
forever. Or from the musical
The dance experience, the
the
5 minute
musical
musical
dance
dance experience,
experience.
the MDE.
Bro is so much fun to watch, and I hope to see him in a bunch of more stuff. And I guess that he originally worked in the private sector for nonprofits,
He was in a
and is a
nonprofit actually, yeah, in
yeah.
DC native.
Oh, look at that, and
Hmm.
a relatively new actor in his career, and man, so
Yep.
much fun to watch Mr. Milchick. He will live forever.
Yeah, no, I mean that to me is the most iconic character in the
Yeah,
series. I think it's probably not close either.
I think that's fair.
Like,
I think that I agree
we'll
with
see. I
that.
mean, again, there's more seasons. We'll see, but early goings, let's say we're halfway through the show. Let's say they only get to four, which I think is a totally reasonable thing to think, by the way.
Yeah,
So let's say we're halfway through. He's far and away the standout character, far and away the standout performance. Um, Part of it is because the show is absurd. It is. It's an absurdist show. It's meant to be absurd, right? The goats in the corporate office, that doesn't make a lick of sense. The whole premise of it is absurd. Absurdity is a very, very hard thing to write because just, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to imagine it. It's hard to imagine something being absurd. And then absurd and random are not the same thing. Like, you know what I mean? And I think that that's important for people to remember too.
Hmm.
It's not, oh, they have a random goat in the office. That's not, no. If the goats just went away, we never saw them again, that wouldn't make any sense. If we had all these things that this were randomly happening, that wouldn't make any sense. It would not be any good. Absurdity is something that, is based in something, right? You can see what they're talking about, but it's just crazy. It just veers off hard. And Milchick is probably the most absurdist character in the group,
yeah,
right? Like, yes, the manager has to celebrate an achievement from their employee. They do not have to do that with a full marching band rendition of the Kier hymnal, right? That doesn't need to happen. Or, what is it like when they do the funeral for Irv, right? They it's a quiet little funeral. There's a whole policy that allows them to do the funeral, but they've got like the giant watermelon carved in his image for them to feast on, and then he just leaves, right? So it's like all those things. He is an absurdist character, and I think that really is a key component of the show in general. Rickon is another character who's quite absurd.
yeah.
Um, and so I think that, but obviously he's got a bigger role. And in terms of what you were just saying, real quick, I agree. But it's like I was saying, I think that the severed floor are the main characters. They're the people we're supposed to root for.
Hmm.
And as Milchick says finally to Drummond when he's being berated, with what to call the I forget what he said to eat
Devour
shit.
flatulence,
Yes,
and
devour
then
flatulence.
and
Yes.
then he's like, "What does that mean?" Because it means eat shit.
Yes, exactly. But he then goes on to explain that when Mark is on the severed floor, he's my responsibility.
Yeah,
When Mark doesn't show up to the severed floor, that's a you problem.
that is
I'm
true,
on the
and that's
severed team.
100%
He's 100%
true.
right. And that, to me, that was the encapsulating why we cheer for Milchick while also actively booing Milchick when we need to, is because, yes, he works for Lumen and is therefore the bad guy. He's unsevered. But he works on the severed floor. He's always worked on the severed floor. And like that we've seen obviously, from first season, and now obviously this season he's in charge of it, so he's part of our severed team. There's our four macrodata refiners, and there's Milchick, and obviously there were other people earlier, and then they added Miss Huang and stuff like, but those people came or left, and so it's different. Milchick has been with those four the entire time, and so
That's
he's part
right.
of the team, and that's why we cheer for him against anybody who is not also on the team. As long as it's not, Mark, Helly, Dylan, or Irv, we're Team Milchick.
Fair
Milchick can
enough.
do no wrong
I can, I
besides
can,
those four.
I can definitely sign up for that, and keep it going. Those two dances you can literally watch for fun.
I have.
See, duh. Not surprised there, but great work as always, Ryan. Let's hopefully early 2026 we could get a
That's the
new
hope, yeah.
Severance season, and we'll go from there. It's definitely interesting. It's great to have another great show to really anticipate.
Oh yeah.
and we're gonna see where it goes. We'll
Yep.
ultimately see where it goes. But I'll see you. Excuse me. I'll see you soon, Ryan. Don't
See you,
forget
Matt.
Magic Mind, and there you go. Lumen, huh? All about that Lumen.